All righty. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to tonight's program about where and how to search for jobs. I'm Susanna Jones. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here at the Chatham Area Public Library. Our presenter, Dave Ryan, is a consultant with Rogers HR Consulting. He recently retired as Director of Human Resources and Compliance for Melacream Donuts International after 45 years with the company. So after the program, I did want to let you know that I'll put a link to a survey in the chat. If you could fill that out, that would be very helpful for planning future programs. And I hope you enjoy the program, and I'll hand things over to Dave.
Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Chatham Public Library for putting this on and for all of you folks that have joined. A couple of things here. If you have a question, there should be a little button either along the bottom, the top, or the side, and you can raise your hand, or you can also go to, there is a chat box. If you click on that, you can put a question or a comment in there. And Suzanne's going to be watching this. So if you have something and you want to ask a question, feel free to do that. And we can also do some questions at the end if folks are so inclined to do so. So this is a little bit about me. I've been in human resources for, let's just say, a long time. I've got a professional certification. I was the state director for Illinois State Council of SHRM, which is an HR organization. We have about 13,000 members here in Illinois. I have spoken at local colleges and even national conferences over the years. I refereed ice hockey for about 20 years on evenings and weekends, and I've been on a number of boards here in Central Illinois. I also like to bicycle, so my bicycling gets me down in the Chatham area routinely, up and down the trail there, which is really kind of bumpy from Plummer on into town there. But, and I am a husband, a father, and a newly grandfather guy. So that's a little bit about me. So this is part two in the career development workshop here put on by the library. And so Suzanne and I were talking just before we started here. If you're looking for a job, now is a pretty good time to be doing that. You can see the slide here. I went and grabbed a couple articles earlier in the week from the Harvard Business Review and from Forbes, both a couple trusted and long-term publications for business. And without going into this here, on the one on the left here, you can see the job market is hot right now, making this a perfect time to build your career. And who's driving the great resignation? That's what they're calling what's going on right now, all of the people that are leaving their jobs. So for those people that are leaving for whatever reason, if you're out there looking, then that's an opportunity for you. And there were also a couple articles that I saw on the internet today that we were looking at. One where it was a bagel shop where the manager got fired and all the employees quit because they thought that was wrong. So there are a wealth of opportunities out there if you're wanting to get into the job market right now. This is just another example. I got this email from the Illinois Chamber of Commerce. And if you'll see down here towards the bottom, hiring and keeping great employees. Now more than ever, businesses are experiencing difficulty in finding and keeping employees. The presentation will discuss ideas for recruiting employees, hiring the right person, and making sure they're onboarded successfully and making them an integral part of the team. So when you're out there looking for a job, I think you need to kind of have in the back of your mind that these people that are hiring, they need you as much as you need them. So don't sell yourself short on anything. We were discussing earlier also a survey I saw last year that over 25% of the jobs that were filled were filled and had some type of bonus or sign-on thing when people came to work for them. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but keep that in mind. You know, now that's all great, but if you don't have a job and you want one, that doesn't help you right now. So I'm going to try and give you some tips that will help you out here. So here's another example of, well, we all quit. Sorry for the inconvenience. But let's get back to you now. So the job that you're looking for, you have to think about this. And what do you want to do? What are you capable of doing? Where do you want to do this? What type of, when during the day do you want to work? Or what days do you want to work? Or what days do you not want to work? What types of jobs are you capable of performing? When I was in a hiring function, I had people that would tell me that they could do anything. And one of the jobs we had was a commercial truck driver, driving a semi truck. I said, well, do you have a commercial driver's license with a Class A endorsement? And the people would say, well, no. Okay, well, then you can't do that job because there are certain requirements that are there to do that job. And then what do you want to be paid? As I was telling you now, I believe the minimum wage is $12 an hour, but most places you'll find are probably for an entry level position are going to be $14 or $15 an hour now. So be looking at that, but think about all these things and kind of have them in mind when you're in the market here. So as I talked about, do you have what it takes? Well, here in the middle, we've got an Illinois driver's license. And, you know, some jobs may ask you or require you to drive as part of your job. If you're going to have to go pick up samples or you're going to have to run things across town or something like that, you'll need to have a valid Illinois driver's license to do that job. Another, you know, this one here is a home inspector. And then I've got, you know, a teacher or a teacher's assistant. All of those things, you have to have some type of certification, if not education, to do that. So know that about the job if there are some special requirements that to get to that job. And then when and where. If you don't want to work weekends, then that needs to kind of be top of mind for you when you're applying for things. If you don't mind working weekends, then maybe that's not such a big deal. Some people have some religious commitments and such. And while an employer by law can't ask you, you know, what your religion is, that's a lawsuit right there just in and of itself. But I would often tell people that we're applying for certain jobs that, you know, this job is going to require you to work on Saturday and Sunday. Would you be available to work on those days? So effectively, I'm asking you, you know, can you work on Saturday and Sunday? And if you tell me that, you know, well, you routinely go to church or you go to temple or something, then that is probably not going to be a good fit for you. So have those things in mind. So how do we go about doing this? Well, Suzanne said I worked at Mellocream, and one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that Mellocream manufactures donuts, and they sell them primarily the facility out on the west side of town to grocery distribution facilities around the country. And it's a pretty good size operation. And these people here are just like some of our customers. So I've been in the donut business. I've been around the grocery business quite a bit. So I'm familiar with how these people do and how they work and such. But it also gave me an opportunity to show you some of the things that you might want to think about. So in my examples here, I've decided I'm going to go look for a job, try and find something in the grocery business. And there's a number of reasons that someone might want to do that. Um, the grocery business is, they're open 7 days a week and some fairly long hours, which doesn't mean that you have to work them, but that means that, there's an opportunity that you might be able to work anytime between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., or maybe even longer than that. So if you were perhaps a college student or something like that, that's giving you an opportunity to work some of those extended hours that you might not get in say, a retail operation. Location. If I lived in Chatham, it would probably make more sense for me to think about working at County Market or Meyer than it would at Hy-Vee or either one of the Schnucks locations in Springfield. But that's not a game breaker. Some people drive to Jacksonville, Lincoln, or they do the commute the other way. They'll drive 30, 40 miles and don't think anything of that. Personally, I don't want to do that myself, but some people don't think anything of that. So, but location is in fact, an important thing about that. So kind of in your plan of where you're trying to find this job, well, let's start putting all these things together and maybe even writing these ideas down and then trying to find places that are going to fit the criteria. As an employee, you want to go to work at some place where you feel like you're appreciated, that they treat you fairly, and all of those other things that make a good place to work. So that would also be something that I might look into before I went willy-nilly applying to these places. And I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try and slip out of this here and see if I can go to a browser. How am I doing here, Suzanne?
You're good. We can see you searching.
Okay. So something I would want to know is most companies have what are called a mission, vision, or values, or a combination statement of that. So I might go to their website and okay, so you can see this here. Our company, Hy-Vee, your employee owned. So what that tells you is that Hy-Vee is an ESOP corporation, which stands for, I think, Employee Stock Option Purchase. It means that it's owned by the people that work there. It's not a publicly traded company like a Fortune 500, but it's owned by the employees. And if you want to know more about Hy-Vee, there's this little 5-minute video, which I watched, which you probably don't want to watch right now. Let's get back to Google and let's look at Schnucks. Without even going into their website here, I can find their mission is to nourish people's lives. And they do this by making sure to address food needs of our customers, but by nurturing the communities that we serve. So they're a community-minded organization. That's a good thing. So we don't need to go into a bunch of these, but I think it's a good thing to have an idea of what the company is about and what their, you can even look at some of their slogans and what they've got going on about the company. A mission statement will tell you a lot about a company, in my opinion. The one of the most simple and easy to remember mission statement I have ever read in my life is from Disney World. And their mission statement is make people happy. And if you think about that, they refer to themselves as the happiest place on earth. So they want their, what do they call them? Cast. Well, their cast members and the people that work there and their guests, the visitors, they want them to all be happy. So they just shed that money everywhere that they go. So this is an exercise, though. You can go on Google and find out more things. We're going to look at a couple other places that will give you another idea of about the companies and such. Okay. So, as I've said, where do you want to go? What do you want to work? But another thing that you can look at are there are other websites out there, and these are hiring websites primarily, things like Indeed and Monster. And some of these sites, Indeed being one, and another one called Glassdoor, allow past, current employees to do employee reviews. And they'll talk about compensation, they'll talk about the working conditions, they'll talk about their bosses, they'll talk about a lot of things in there. And you can kind of get a good idea of how the people feel about that. Now, don't put too much weight into any one comment. I've put a little tag out here. What do past and present employees have to say? I'm saying this tongue in cheek and it's sarcastic. Remember, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So I've noticed in my life that people that comment on things tend to be driven to make negative remarks. If you go on Yelp, restaurants and such, primarily people go on there and they complain. They complain about the food, the service, this, that. Every once in a while you see one where I had a really nice meal at Joe's restaurant and the food was good. But people tend to do that. But on these employee reviews on some of these websites, spend some time, look through them and see what the people have to say. And now like these Hy-Vee reviews, you're probably not going to get much from the store. It's going to be the company because Hy-Vee has stores, I think, in probably 8 states. They've got about 250 stores now. Myers is probably comparably sized. They've got stores all over the upper Midwest and down into the Mid-South. So it's not going to give you the details of working at Myers on Veterans Parkway, but it is going to kind of give you an idea of their corporate view of the world and how they like to treat their employees. Okay, so before you apply, I would suggest that you gather all of the information that you're going to need to fill out an electronic application. If you have already put together a resume, you will have most of this information, but I would suggest that you have it in a Word document or some other type of computerized document. Some companies will let you simply upload your resume. Others will let you, if you have a LinkedIn profile, and if you don't, I would encourage you to do that. But if you have a LinkedIn profile, they will allow you to upload your information from your LinkedIn profile. They have they have software that just kind of goes in there and searches out the information that they want, but you might have to update that. Typically, the people don't put their address on their LinkedIn profile, so you might have to add that back in if you do one of the sites that lets you use your LinkedIn profile. Now, the reason that I tell you to have all of this stuff is that if you have a document open and then you go to a site to apply, first thing they're going to ask you is your name, your address, all of these things. Well, if you have them in an electronic document, you can simply go over to the document and highlight and then copy and paste. And Control C and Control V. Control C copies what you highlight with your mouse. Control V pastes what you have on the clipboard. So I would suggest doing that because, first of all, it minimizes error, and it helps you through the process. So taking or filling out one of these applications, once you decide to fill it out, you probably ought to be all in, because a lot of these people want a rich job history, and then they may ask you some other things. Sometimes some of these things that I put here to test to see if you'll hang out with them. If they feel that if you don't have 30 minutes to invest in them, then they're not interested in you. And some of these folks even take this step further. They have you fill out online tests and questionnaires, and they can keep you for up to an hour. And this is a lot of people in human resources have looked at this, and they refer to this as the candidate experience. And some of these places have done a nice job of this, but some of these, it just seems like this just goes on and on and on forever, and that they want more information about you and they want to get inside your head. And so here again, you don't have to work there. You can bail out if you want, but that's their process. So I would suggest having all this in order, having it somewhere, because most, if not all, of the application process is going to be electronic these days. Once you figured out where you want to go and apply, then you need to go through the drill there, whether it's a test, a resume, LinkedIn profile. But then once you apply, okay, I didn't hear from them. So what is the protocol and follow-up? I would say I would wait 2 to 3 days after you apply. I suspect everybody that's in the employment business right now has an immediate need for people, but they're also busy people, and hiring isn't the only thing that they do. So be mindful of that. But these people that are doing this are busy people. They have a lot going on, and your application or your resume is not necessarily top of mind for them. And so if you call there, be courteous. You may have to go through a couple people to get to them. You may have to leave a voicemail or something like that. But if you do get a voicemail, don't be afraid to leave a voicemail. That's a very courteous thing to do. But when you leave your voicemail, speak clearly, speak slowly, and be sure to leave your name, your phone number, and then when you applied and what you applied for, give them everything that they're going to need to know. If that doesn't work, you can try an email. You might not have their email. You might be able to call and find out who's in charge of human resources, and get a name and an email. You might be able to get that off of a website as well. So you could follow up that way. For that matter, you could even just show up. You could walk in and see, and if they don't have time for you, they won't talk to you. Don't be offended, but maybe that's the extra effort that somebody might be looking for. to get you in the door. So that's something that you could contemplate there. And then something else to do is look online and see, if the position has been taken down or if it's filled or something along those lines where you can have an idea that that job or that position is no longer available. And I would not hound the company or the HR person about that at that point. I would just leave it be and maybe see what else comes up. Many of these job recruiting sites, Glassdoor, Monster, Indeed, Snagajob, there's a bunch of them, also work a different avenue. And what you can do is you can also go on to these sites and you'll have to create a profile, where you're going to create your username and password and all those things that you have to do to interact virtually with any company or any entity online these days. But if you create that profile, then they will afford you the opportunity to post your resume online. And this is another avenue that employers go down to look for employees. Oftentimes, people that are working or currently have jobs but are looking for a better job or a better opportunity will do this, and they're kind of passively looking for a job. You'll see that I've got some fishing poles as the slide here. Well, I kind of liken this as going fishing, and you just throw a bunch of lines in the water to see what happens. You may or may not get a reaction from anybody, or you may get a call from somebody. I know when I call people like this, oftentimes people would like, oh, yeah, I forgot all about that. I didn't even remember that I had that thing posted on ZipRecruiter. But this is a way that people can look for people. There's an old line in the hiring world: all of the good people are working. I don't know necessarily that that's true, but I think there are people that subscribe to that and that they think that if you're not working, you're lazy, you're not employable, and some of those other traits. I don't agree with that necessarily, but I think that you should probably know that. So if you haven't been working or not working, be honest with them and tell them why. I mean, if someone took off work to have a baby and spend time with their child, I don't think you're going to get points taken off for having done that. If you had an injury or something like that that kept you from working, be open, be honest, and share that with them. But that shouldn't get you marked down. When you post one of these resumes, they give you plenty of space to cite your skills and abilities. And you want to do this when it lists skills and abilities and stuff like that. That's almost a lot of times where when an employer goes to search, if I want to look for someone who going to build houses, I'm going to look for somebody that's got carpentry skills. I might search for saws, table saws, joiners, router, some other things like that, some tools that some people have operated and can do that well, because that's what I'm going to find in that realm. It's the carpenter's tools. So that if you're an expert with a skill saw, you want to list that. So when that HR person is searching, that those skills and abilities pop up and you can see them on your profile there. This is another thing that I would recommend. You don't have to do this, but if you're looking for a job, I would set up a separate Gmail, Yahoo, or even if you've got Comcast or AT&T, you can set up another email account. And what this does is it allows you to keep all of your job search information, your request, your information in one profile like that. So you can see when you've got it active. You also have a separate calendar in there. So, if you're scheduling things, if you've got some interviews, keep them there. And then something else I will counsel you on is when you go to set up an email, be careful with what you call yourself or what your email is. I will tell you a funny story. I was looking to hire an accountant. And so, as I had told you earlier, I was on one of these sites and I was searching for people that had accounting degrees, people that had done business accounting, all of the things that were going to find me these people that I'm looking for. And then people will write a little bit about themselves. And so I had been on this one young lady's profile for a long time. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to reach out to her and contact her and we'll sit down and have a conversation. So I got down to the email and her email was Tequila Chick 312. And today I can laugh about that, but, and I like tequila as much as the next person, but I thought, that's probably a little inappropriate. So if I were to advise her, I would set up an email account and I would call myself best accountant in Sangamon County at gmail.com or something kind of witty, pithy, and clever like that. So that, just as I stood up and took notice at Tequila Chick 312, best accountant in Sangamon County, well, this individual certainly has high praise for themselves. And so I don't mind that. I think somebody like that's very confident. So I would suggest that you do this. And this is pretty simple. They're free and you can have multiple Gmail accounts. And if you want, you can set those all up to come into one account. But I would keep them separate. That's just my thought on that. When you're dealing with these hiring people, be pleasant, be happy, because you put a better foot forward when you do that. And I know that seems pretty elementary, but I've had people come in my office that wouldn't look at me, that wouldn't make eye contact, and such. If you're going to a job fair, look people in the eye and talk to them. So just be a forthright person. So that's kind of the slides that I had. I would certainly be happy to do any Q&A, any feedback like that if anyone would care to do so. Suzanne, we open that up to let people ask questions, and they can ask them on the chat box, or I guess can they raise their hand? You have that function.
I think in the reactions area, you can raise your hand. Yep. You can type in the chat or you can unmute and talk if you want to.
Okay, I had a question concerning, I'm retired, but I'm looking for something to do part-time virtually. So do you suggest then just going on Indeed and these on-site website hiring?
I'm retired too. I would suggest, well, you have any idea? What do you want to do? Do you have an idea
Well,
of what
that's,
you'd like to do?
I'm not quite sure. I do have a master's degree in public relations, and I have a bachelor's. I was in teaching, so I have a bachelor's in English. I have done management. I worked for a state agency, Illinois Community College Board. So I was still in education in a way, but not, I worked more with grants and that type of thing. So I have also had experience in training people. I've done that. Writing, editing, proofing. So I was kind of leaning toward
Well-
that, more toward the editing and proofreading.
Have you posted your resume on any of the,
I am in Indeed. I haven't used it for a while, but I am in Indeed.
I would post it on several of them, ZipRecruiter, maybe even Monster. And be sure those keywords, do you have is your LinkedIn profile current?
I need to update that. Yes.
That is, yeah, that's another place, because you can list on LinkedIn, there's a box you can check you're available for employment and the different types of employment that are seeking.
Mhm.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think you're probably very hireable for what you want to do, because, you know, what a lot of employers are doing, what they used to do with one person as a full-time employee, they'll break that up over two employees.
Mhm.
And then even further, since the COVID world has taken over, there's a lot more people that want to work at home. And so
Yes.
employers are trying to structure jobs to meet that need for them, because there's benefits to the employers having people, you know, where I don't have to have an office where I heat it for you and cool it for you and provide
Right.
toilet paper and everything else. So I would think you would be very hireable.
Okay.
And yeah, you know, and you said you worked in a state agency.
Mhm.
Um, I know the state they're still hiring a lot of people on contract even. So I don't know if that's an opportunity for you
Oh,
either.
okay. Well, I can certainly look into that.
Yeah, because a lot of people get hired on contract.
Mhm.
As a retiree, know where you're at on your benefits, your retirement payments, and your Social Security and those other things.
Yeah,
because-
that's okay. I'm fine there.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to get crossways with those. But
No.
I would do that, and I certainly think that you should be able to find something.
Okay.
And then when you know, if somebody finds you, don't be afraid to be a little aggressive. That's like I said, this is an employee's market, so you know, a remark like, "Well, I was hoping to make a little more than that," isn't out of so. Just keep that in mind, you know, and don't be arrogant about it, but yet,
Right. No, but there is a certain right, sort of a range there that, yeah, that I feel.
yeah, absolutely. And, you know, given your station in life with your experiences, you know, you probably should hire into the higher end of the scale, whatever the scale is. So
Yeah. Okay.
thank you for the question.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any other questions or discussion for that matter?
All right, I don't see anything else in the chat, so I
Okay, well,
don't think so.
the only other, you know, just some other pointers that I've seen that really make people stand out. And you have to have the moxie to do this. But take some time and put together a video resume. That will really make you stand out. If you then just take a couple, probably 2 or 3 minutes, but if you could send that to someone, and if you can personalize that as opposed to saying that I'm looking for a job in accounting, I'm looking for a job in accounting, and I would really like to work for the Village of Chatham, to kind of personalize that so that they know this isn't just something that you sent out to dozens of employers all at once. So that's something that can give you an edge. So just be creative and put your best foot forward.
All right. Well, thank you, Dave. That was helpful and informative, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope everybody got something out of that.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we'll end our meeting. So thank you. And again, I appreciate it. And if anyone has any other questions, I know you can come to the library. We're always happy to help. You can call us or email us at reference@chathamlib.org, and we can get you in contact with Dave or someone else. We will always help you. So yeah, thank you all for coming tonight. Alrighty, well, have a good
Thanks, everyone.
evening.